private meeting, but one destined to make a splash. Pope Leo XIV received Cardinal Robert Sarah, and the news leaked out thanks to Silea non possum. What did they really say? And why could this conversation change the balance of power? Stay with us until the end. It could be a turning point no one expected. Last Monday, a private audience took place in the Vatican that immediately attracted the attention of observers. Pope Leo XIV received Cardinal Robert Sarah. This is the first face-to-face meeting between the two since the end of the May conclave, and this very detail made the meeting particularly significant. It's not just a routine interview, but a gesture that carries with it the weight of months of waiting and unanswered questions. The news was relaunched by the website Silea non possum, which highlighted how the Cardinal asked the Pope to intervene on the controversial topic of Fiducia Supplicans, the Vatican document that has sparked heated debate throughout the Catholic world. The news must be read in context. Leo XIV inherited an ecclesial climate marked by doctrinal tensions and a thirst for pastoral clarity. The meeting with Sarah, one of the cardinals most listened to by the traditional wing of the Church, is not a marginal step, but a piece in a broader strategy of listening and dialogue. The decision to hold the hearing behind closed doors also lends a confidential and delicate tone to the moment, almost as if to protect the dialogue from immediate interpretations or media simplifications. Pope Leo XIV and Cardinal Robert Sarah are not just any figures. They represent two different paths that meet today at the heart of the Church. The pontiff, elected last May, carries on his shoulders the responsibility of leading a universal institution in a time of strong contrasts, with a style that aims at listening and a renewed pastoral drive. Robert Sarah, on the other hand, is known for his clear and sometimes uncomfortable voice, a former prefect of the Dicastery for Divine Worship, always ready to recall the centrality of the liturgy, silence, and fidelity to tradition. When these two paths intersect, the symbolic value multiplies. Sarah never speaks by chance. Each of her interventions is the fruit of long and profound discernment, and her criticisms of certain ecclesial developments have always found echo among the faithful who fear a departure from doctrine. Leo XIV, for his part, knows that the weight of figures like Sarah cannot be ignored because they embody a very lively sensibility in the Church, one that calls for rootedness, clarity, and continuity. Thus, more than a simple meeting, this audience appears as a sign of mutual recognition, a first step that could guide the pontificate's path toward dialogue with those voices most attentive to tradition. At the center of the conversation, according to what was reported, was the theme of Fiducia Supplicans. This document, published by the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith under the previous pontificate, authorized non-liturgical blessings for couples in irregular situations, immediately generating mixed reactions. On the one hand, some have read the text as a sign of pastoral openness. On the other, many cardinals, theologians, and episcopal conferences have expressed strong reservations, seeing in it a risk of doctrinal confusion. Cardinal Sarah, faithful to his clear approach, reportedly asked the Pope to intervene to restore order and coherence. This isn't just a personal opinion, but rather a reflection of a widespread discontent affecting parishes, priests, and lay people who don't know how to handle these instructions. At stake is the very perception of Catholic doctrine on marriage and blessing, elements that for centuries have been presented without equivocation. Leo XIV thus finds himself faced with a question that does not concern a technical document, but the daily life of communities and their unity of faith. Sarah's request highlights the urgent need for clarification that will avoid further divisions and forcefully reaffirm the heart of Catholic pastoral care. Just a week ago, Cardinal Robert Sarah gave an interview to the daily newspaper Avenir that was destined to leave its mark. On that occasion, he spoke with the frankness that has always distinguished him. His words regarding Pope Leo were full of respect and trust. In his opinion, the pontiff is bringing back to the heart of the Church what is no longer passing away, the centrality of Christ, avoiding both the drift of a rootless progressivism and the rigidity of a sterile conservatism. Sarah had warned that in today's Church, there are two opposing and equally dangerous visions. On the one hand, those who, in order to chase after the world, erase tradition, reducing faith to a cultural fad. On the other, those who block it, like a museum exhibit, incapable of generating life. The true path, he explained, is to experience tradition as a source that illuminates the present. The interview also included strong criticisms of the West, accusing it of dethroning God and replacing him with fragile idols like success, money, and power. And on the internal life of the Church, he clarified that the Pope is not the master, but the servant of the gospel, while synodality remains a means, not an end. Finally, two concrete points. The liturgy, which cannot be amputated of a centuries-old rite, and Fiducia Supplicans, which he branded as theologically weak and dangerous for unity, with the hope that it will be clarified or forgotten. News of the private audience didn't arise in a vacuum, but reached the public through a specific channel. The website Celere Non Possum. It was their page that relaunched, including on Facebook, the meeting between Pope Leo XIV and Cardinal Sarah, emphasizing that the Cardinal had requested a statement on the controversial document Fiducia Supplicans. The article didn't just report the incident, but also spoke of the complaints and regrets that emerged during the conversation, though without providing official details or notes from the Vatican press office. This editorial choice fits a well-known profile. Celere Non Possum is a critical observatory, often close to traditionalist positions and inclined to highlight the contradictions that emerge in the governance of the Church. It is therefore not a neutral channel, but a voice that interprets and filters events in the light of a precise sensitivity. This does not change the fact, however, that the relaunch of the news immediately received widespread attention precisely because it highlights an undeniable fact. The meeting took place, and Sarah's request for Fiducia Supplicans reached the Pope directly. The lack of official statements lends the episode an even more interesting character. The institutional silence, on the one hand, leaves room for interpretation. On the other, it signals that the issue is sensitive and could be subject to scrutiny before any public clarification. In this sense, the source becomes an integral part of the news because it shows how, in the absence of Vatican notes, the ecclesiastical debate is also fueled through websites and channels outside the official circuit. What do you think? If you liked the video, comment, Amen. God bless you.